As we continue our look at the special senses, I want to move into the vestibular system. And as always, I want to look first of all at the anatomy associated with the vestibular apparatus, and then I want to look at three pathways associated with this system. The vestibular apparatus is located also in the inner ear, and it is located right next to and is actually connected to the cochlea. And so when we look at the vestibular apparatus, first of all, we are going to see two little areas, the utricle, which I've colored in red, and then the saccule, which I've colored in yellow. These two little parts of the vestibular apparatus are going to be for linear acceleration. And so when we change velocities in a straight line, it is going to be the utricle and the saccule that are going to respond to that type of acceleration. Together, these two parts of the vestibular apparatus are referred to as the otolith organs. The otolith organs get their name because within the endolymph, we're going to see calcium carbonate crystals. And so otolith, which literally translates as rocks in the ear, are nothing more than these crystals. And these crystals help in the stimulation of the hair cells within this area. The other part of the vestibular apparatus is the semicircular canals. The semicircular canals are going to be arranged in the X, Y, and Z planes of the body. And so we have an anterior, a posterior, and a horizontal semicircular canal. These are going to be for the sensation of angular acceleration. So depending on which direction we move, we are going to either stimulate the utricle, the saccule, or one or more of the semicircular canals. Finally, notice that we have this very, very small connection between the saccule and the cochlea. Specifically, these are going to go to the scala media. And one of the things that you hopefully will remember is that the scala media is filled with endolymph, just like the entire vestibular apparatus. And so what we see is that some people, if they experience a very, very loud sound, they can actually have that wave of fluid energy move into the vestibular apparatus. And these individuals can actually experience vertigo associated with the very, very loud sound. When we look at the receptor associated with the vestibular system, or if you like, with balance, we are also going to see hair cells. And as we look, we're going to see, though, that these hairs are different than the hairs that we see associated with the auditory system. In that, these hair cells are going to have one very thick, long cilia, which is called a kinocilium. And then next to that, we're going to see a series of stereocilia. And the way that this system works is that if the stereocilia of a particular cell bends towards the kinocilium, that is going to cause a depolarization of that cell. But if that stereocilia move away from the kinocilium, that will cause a hyperpolarization of that cell. And so, depending on what cells are depolarized, what cells are hyperpolarized, then we're going to get a signal that goes to the brain and tells the body what is happening, associated with the sense of balance. When we look at the vestibular system pathways in just a moment, we're going to see that the cell bodies associated with this system are going to be located in the vestibular ganglion. And the vestibular ganglion can be divided into two parts based on where the individual axons go. So notice that we have a superior portion and an inferior portion. Going into that superior portion, we're going to see the saccule, the utricle, the horizontal, and the superior semicircular canal axons. Going into the inferior portion, we are going to see that the saccule and the posterior semicircular canal is going to go into this area. But the important thing to really note is that both of these are then going to project through cranial nerve 8 into the vestibular nuclei. You'll remember from when we talked about cranial nerve 8, we have 4 vestibular nuclei. And these 4 vestibular nuclei are going to be named for their position. So we have a superior, a lateral, an inferior, and a medial vestibular nucleus. What is important for you to know is what tracts are associated with these different nuclei. I am not concerned with inputs and where things are coming from. So notice that from the superior and medial, we have the medial longitudinal fasciculus. From the medial, we're going to have the medial vestibulospinal tract. From the inferior, we're going to have the vestibulo-reticular tract and the vestibulospinal tracts. And then finally, out of the lateral, we're going to have the lateral vestibulospinal tract. And so what I want to do now is I want to look through 3 different templates, these different tracts, and how they form and what they do.